What was your biggest takeaway from the spring football game?
I thought the defense looked much better. Again, watered down maybe isn't the best term, but you're going against a more bland, vanilla offense. But other than like the one Keyshawn Butte long touchdown that got called back, you didn't see a lot of coverage busts. You saw some ability to generate some pressure without bringing a bunch of numbers, and you're not going to blitz a lot in a spring game. But you saw some guys on the edge, even with Ali Gay and Andre Anthony out. You saw some guys on the edge and really the interior generating some pressure. And you're missing two linebackers that I think are going to make an impact on this team next year. So with all that said, and Eli Ricks, who was your best cornerback last year, or at least your most productive cornerback last year. It's hard to take Stingley off of that throne, but you're missing all that. You're missing some guys at safeties, and the defense still looked really good. Dwight McLaughlin, I thought, had a great game. I thought you saw some things from the safety that you saw some ability back there that you need, and I think Devontae Jones had those guys communicating and on the same page. So that was my first takeaway. And then my other takeaway, I think, is offensively, you're going to be fine at quarterback. Like, you're going to have a good quarterback there. Now, you could take your pick, the righty or the lefty. The older guy or the younger guy, the stronger arm or the more mobile guy. And I think there's strengths to both guys. But regardless, you're either going to have the guy that led the nation in passing yards last year per game and in a limited sample size, but 3 games, or you're going to have a guy that won 2 games at the end of the season for you next year. Because I thought those two, 1 and 2, and then but even behind like 3 and 4, that's the best you've been at 3 and 4 in a long time too. So good spot for the offense to be in as well.
Cody, how good's Keyshawn going to be this season?
He's going to be great. He's a very unique receiver. I have a hard time pinning down what he's best at, because he's, you could look at a Jamar and say, all right, that's a physical monster at the point of attack and the point of catch. You could look at Terrence, that's a 6'4" guy that runs a 4.34. He's just going to run past you and catch it over you. Keyshawn's kind of got everything. He's got everything in his bag. He runs great routes. He's fluid. He's sudden. He's great after the catch. He might be as good after the catch as anybody that LSU's had in terms of being elusive. So he's going to be awesome. And I want to see some more production from the guys behind him. You just feel more comfortable when you have, and maybe we're just spoiled by 2019 when you got 3 first-round receivers, but you feel more comfortable when you got, all right, if the defense is going to say, we're taking away Keyshawn, who can step up? I think it's hard to just say we're taking away Keyshawn without literally putting 2 guys on him. But you're going to need other guys on the edge to step up, and I thought John showed what he could do. I don't think he's going to have 200 yards receiving in the game next year, but he can make some plays for you, which is good. We've seen Jerry Jenkins do that before. Interested to see how these young guys come in. Deion Smith looked like a guy practicing on Tuesday, just, kind of out there getting his, but I think he's got a high ceiling. And then just a bunch of studs coming in, whether it's Brian Thomas or Chris Hilton or Malik. Malik Neighbors, they're all over the place. So it's going to be Royale there for the 2 and 3 spots. One, you're going to be as good as you've been, which is all you can ask for.
I thought 24. I thought Derek Stingley Jr. looked real good, and he always does when he suits up to play football. But it seemed like that he is coming off of a season where he may have some doubters or gone through some doubt for the first time in his football life. This is the season that he, his dad, everybody around him has talked about for so long. What do you anticipate from the All-American cornerback going into his 3rd year?
I think it'd be great. I can't put numbers on that because teams don't want to throw his way, but you don't want to throw the other way either. So I think he'll be great. And I thought, there's a stat, and I'm having trouble pulling it off the top of my head. If you take away the Missouri game last year where he was pretty clear, I think that was a game where he twisted his ankle, and he was clearly banged up in the Missouri game. And I think they threw at him 7 times, and it was 6 catches or something. You take away that game, and his numbers last year were fine. They were, he didn't have any picks, but completion percentage was low, PBUs were high. When you threw his way, it was not an efficient decision. But you take out the Missouri game, and it was like his numbers were even better than his freshman season. Again, minus the picks, which is obviously a big part of playing cornerback. But I want to say it was completions when they threw his way last year when you take out that game. So, look, the guy that says throw out last season completely in every regard, because there were still 10 games and it was a sample size and it was something to work with. But last year was such an aberration across the board that I don't take any really large sweep or much of anything. And that's positive and negative. You know, the last 2 wins were great and certainly got some momentum, but I don't think anything's set in stone based on those last 2 games. Now, I think you know some things for sure, like if Cade York is standing over the ball with a few seconds left in the game, we feel pretty good. And obviously Max Johnson showed a lot there at the end, and Keyshawn Boutte is going to be a stud. But don't look at last season and say that's who all these guys are. And we know who Stingley is. If you watch the tape, if you've seen him his freshman season, his sophomore season, if you saw him in the spring game, he is physically gifted and technically proficient of a cornerback as you're ever going to see at the college level. And so really for him, it's just mentally taking that next step. And instead of, you know, as a freshman, he kind of to be the quiet leader in that room. And then last year he was kind of finding his place. It's, you know, about taking that next step as a leader and a performer. It's really the mental game for him this year. And I have no doubt he'll get right, because his approach to everything is exactly how you'd want it. His physical gift to be, he's as well coached to players as you'll ever see. So put him on the field, let him make plays. He's going to be fine.
You mentioned finding that second guy and somebody that can make plays on offense. Is that Stingley?
I mean, if you put him there, he's going to make plays. I don't know if they have plans to do that. You know, that was one concern I came away from the game with, just wide receiver depth. And not that the guys out there aren't guys that I know can make plays. I just don't know if you have that top quality 1-2 punch or even 1-2-3 punch as you've had. You know, even last year when you had Terrace as the clear number one, you had Eric Gilbert, who teams had trouble stopping, and then Keyshawn emerged late. I mean, you had some pretty lethal targets there, and Keyshawn, I think we know can be that, but that second spot to me is a question mark. Now, look, I'm not a football coach. I wouldn't say, oh, you can't play Stingley on offense because you need him to focus on defense, and I wouldn't say the opposite. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know the answer to that, but I do know this: you put him on the field and you put a football in his hands, you can make plays, because he's too athletic not to. So offense, defense, special teams. I mean, he's going to impact the football game anytime he's on the field.